Boom. All right, Vero Beach Recreation Commission meeting Tuesday, June 10th is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Shepherd? Here. Mrs. Dineno?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Holton?
Here.
Mrs. Burdick?
Here.
Ms. Redding?
Here.
And Chairman Yem.
Here. All right, approval of minutes May 13th.
I'll approve.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? All right, next thing, citizen input. It's time for come up and talk.
There's no rush, so I'm going to go first. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Recreation Commission. We appreciate what you guys do for our area. But we're here to talk about Michael's Park today.
Need name and address first.
Michael's Field. My name is Jason Redmond, sorry. What is my address? 2538 12th Square Southwest.
Thank you.
I am Coogie Friedman, 5195 East 1st Square Southwest.
And again, we're here to talk about Michael's Park. It's the baseball field, formerly of National League Little League, right downtown. What is it, 18th Street?
27th.
We're here to talk about that. Any River Sports Complex has put in a bid to take that over. We found out about it. We didn't know that it was open for that, and we wanted a chance to have a shot at taking it over as well. Difference is they're all baseball. We're all-purpose. We'd like to keep baseball there, but we'd like to add a couple all-purpose fields to help with the lack of practice areas for football and soccer and other sports as well. We've read over what the community or the city would like a group to come in and do, which is have insurance and maintain it and pay for the utilities. We've put together a place called Heritage Sports Park, and we are able to do that. So we wanted to introduce ourselves, let you know what we wanted to do is basically keep the park open for moms, dads, and kids to come up and be able to practice baseball or any kind of sports that they'd like. While the lights were off, it's free of charge as long as they can keep the park the way they found it, pick up after themselves and things like that. And as well as bring a place for travel baseball teams. There's about 30 different teams. And what I mean by travel baseball is these are teams that are basically handpicked by their coaches, and families come together and they form a team and they go play baseball. Well, unfortunately, there's nowhere here in Vero Beach or Indian River County for them. They are traveling to Okehee, they're traveling to West Palm Beach, Miami, Jacksonville, all those areas, and we'd like to provide them a place to call home and hold games and practices and things. Right now, most of those fields, actually 90% of those teams, are traveling to Lakewood Park, which is Port St. Lucie. Unfortunately, my 9-year-old's on one of those teams, and it gives me a pit in my stomach every time I cross the border and knowing I'm writing a check to a different facility. And we'd like to change that, and that's why we're here.
Just to add what Jason said, we're community mindset. We're community involved. I've been in sports camps, baseball camps, going on this is 10th year. Played pro baseball myself. Ran travel ball organizations. The need to have an open community field that mom and dad can take their son out to use, a soccer team to go practice, a football team to practice, and these travel ball teams that want to call home. I mean, the biggest issue from the travel ball team agenda is they're going to Port St. Lucie and they're paying a county fee, and we're not looking to charge. We have the means to cover all the utilities and create an environment where these guys can call Michael's Field a home base for them. We've got plenty of teams that are wanting and willing to jump on board and support us and have that home field base, and in addition add a multi-purpose sports area that's available for teams to practice. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa bring their grandkid out there, their son out there to play and use, and it's an open schedule. We'll have a master website or a master schedule where they can book a time, but there's at no cost to them. We're covering all the utilities, all the fees, and the biggest thing is we feel that we're not seeing that in this area, and we want to be a group that presents that and gives the opportunity to the local youths to have a place to go play and go use. Most fields, as of right now, are all locked up. There's astronomical fees held in place for using an hourly rate at one of these facilities in town, and availability, even if it's a county field, availability is very minimal as far as the recreation department having programs in place that you can't get onto South County, and now there are different venues outside of where Michael's Field is, and we're looking to expand and open it up. We have an immediate plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, and all these things with our local community support groups and not only in the sports avenue, but other entities as well in town. We're willing to allow that to all come together and have a place to call home and be able to use and have it available to even just out of town residents to come in and just use it if they need to during the seasonal time. But have the city, a city field, Vero Beach, not an Indian River County field, where you're able to use that, and it's set right inside city boundaries. Not anymore.
There's a couple options that we've met with Rob and Jim O'Connor, and there's a couple other fields out there we know you guys are trying to get off your books as well, and we're willing to look to help that cause. But right now, to make the biggest impact easily and immediately is Michael's Field, and I think we can do a lot more for the community and just keeping baseball there, but opening up to other sports as well. So definitely take a look at the information we're going to provide and keep an open mind to this as you guys look to move into the future. We appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Derek Muller. I live at 676 Royal Palm Place, sports writer inside Vero and co-host of the Sideline Radio Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'm here kind of in support of these guys as well. I'm a volunteer with the other group. I coach 2 teams for them. I help them paint everything on that facility. I was one of probably the 5 people out there every day volunteering with them, helping them. But I don't think they need more space. I don't think we need a monopoly on all the baseball fields, and they have a different business model than these guys. These guys not only want to keep that baseball field and add another one, but also put a multi-purpose field. I've written a couple articles that there's 0 places to play for any kids. You cannot get on any patch of grass just to practice. I'm a volunteer coach. Okay, I coach 8 to 10-year-olds. I don't even have a kid playing. I'm one of those, just the rare people that just volunteers my time to coach. And I can't find a place to practice without having to pay $53 out of my pocket just to coach some 8 to 10-year-olds to get a field. These guys are looking to alleviate that problem. They have a group of volunteers and community support. We're talking people from the Buggy Bunch, Gifford, the Progressive League. They have a really good group of people. Austin Hunt over at Harvest Food and Outreach would like to do maybe some after-school programs out on that field and partner with them. But it would be a community park, open to everybody. I mean, if you use the lights, you got to pay for the lights. But other than that, I mean, kids can go play. Anybody ever seen the movie The Sandlot? There's no sandlots here that kids could even do that. You wouldn't have that movie if it was based out of Vero Beach, because there's no place for kids to get on a field that's not locked that they have to pay for. And I really support these guys. Those guys have enough fields over there. They're not fully utilized. It'd be one thing if they had that park 100% refurbished and they were kind of busting at the seams, so to speak, and they need more space. But so these guys would, and if they did, that's the interesting thing here is if these guys have that field and they do, let's say, have a tournament and they need an extra field, it would be open to them just as it would be open to everybody else. So they could use that field as they needed. So I would ask that you would recommend them as a group taking over as a true community park that's multifaceted, not just baseball, but can also help the soccer person. I talked to a friend of mine who coaches soccer, and he's like, yeah, they have that great facility up there at Hobart, but he lives in the morning. So if he wants to have he coaches a kid's team, if they want to have a practice, they have to drive all the way over there. All these people live on the beach side or in this area, whereas if these guys have the park, there'll be a large, nice soccer/football field that the teams could get on and practice locally. So I just would ask that you would consider them over the Indian River Sports Complex as the people that take it over, because I think they would serve the community much more broader spectrum of the community at large as well. Oh, and one other thing, like I talked to one of the directors at the Buggy Bunch, they would love to have a place like that where they could go out and have like family picnics with the kids and stuff like that. But again, there's no nice patch of grass, stuff like that to do. So again, I'm just here in support of these guys. And just for the record, I do support the other guys. I 100% want them to succeed over there, but I think they need to concentrate on making their place over there the best they can make it. And I'm all for not putting all our eggs in one basket. So I like having 2 different groups doing 2 different things and serving the community as a whole. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So what's the deal with Bob Summers Park? I didn't realize it was even locked.
It's not
locked?
It's not locked. I've walked on it the other day.
So if I wanted to go play baseball, could I just go play baseball there?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's available.
Can I ask you a question? How are you going to monitor, like, who uses the facility? I mean, if somebody just walks on and uses it and someone else has planned to practice there, how are you going to monitor it?
There'll be an online calendar as well as it'll be at the park. So within those time frames that somebody's reserved the park, they can use it. If not, then they can wait their turn or use it up until that time. But again, the biggest rule that we'll have is leave it the way you found it.
See, I disagree kind of what you're saying because there is a lot of available within the city spots. Bob Summers, number one. And number two, as far as soccer practices and things like that, especially people on the island, you can go over and set up a temporary thing on Riverside. I mean, you've got that whole big grass area. And you could actually set up, you're talking about sandlot baseball, you can go out temporarily and do that.
Can I address the Bob Summers issue? The field's condition right now is unsafe for, your typical person to go out there. It's the lips on the grass, the way the condition of the dirt is. It's unsafe. One ball off a lip, off the body, off the face, and there's definitely issues over there. Yeah, it's available and it's open, but as far as a safety issue, if dad and son want to go out there and go hit some balls or take some ground balls, and I'm involved in baseball, all the time. That's the only issue. And now down the road, I'm sure I don't know if we can present our kind of information of what we're trying to do over Michael's, but we're open to adding to the agenda to take over the maintenance and I guess operate Bob Summers down the road. Our immediate future, right now we're trying to look at making Michael's maximize the potential of that first and then grow into Bob Summers as an opportunity down the road. And we're not looking to do one or the other as far as that. And Bob Summers, there's pricklers all over the place. There's weeds all over the place. The grass is barely cut. It's mid-ankle high. It's hard to play baseball when a ball can not get into the outfield or into the infield. And that's why you're not seeing a lot of people actually utilizing Bob Summers right now. It's just the condition it's in to be able to be playable for a team, a mom and dad to bring their kid out there.
But who's going to do if you were to take over Michael's, who would do the maintenance?
We will.
So what's the difference there in doing it Bob Summers?
Because right now, immediately, Michael's Field, the way the condition, the people that were there volunteering and working on it now, it's in automatically, immediately you can use that field. At Bob Summers, you're going to need almost a year to get that park and field back to where it needs to be for actual baseball to be played there as an organizational.
So who are the people that put Michael's back into condition right now? It
was never out of condition. National Little League was there with their volunteers and their staff, and the people out there were maintaining.
Somebody's taking care of it. That's what you just implied.
I'm sorry?
Somebody is taking care of it, is what you just implied.
Right. Well, now the city, you guys are taking care of it as well. It's being mowed on the common areas, but the volunteers up until before Little League was outed this season, there was no Little League season. They had a staff of volunteers that were maintaining that property.
So, what would be the difficulty of the city doing Bob Summers?
I don't know the budget constraints on that. I know
well, it would be the same budget constraints of doing Michael Field, I would assume.
I'm not real sure about that. All I know is that they're trying to get it off, utilities and maintenance-wise, and we're here to alleviate that problem at Michael's Field.
Well, I don't think we're in a position to really make any recommendation for you because we don't have any backup material on you.
We have it right in front of us.
Yeah, but we need it before the meeting, not at a meeting.
Do you mind if I address that, sir? I know it was thrown onto the agenda last minute. We weren't aware of the opportunity to possibly have an agreement with the city to operate and lease Michael's Field. Mr. Slezak over here said that it was just too late to get onto your agenda, and we apologize. That's why we came to the open forum. We just sat down with Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Slezak just about an hour ago to allow him to give us all our information. We had a small 2-week window. We do apologize on that part. We did bring our plan with us. We're more than happy to pass it out. And apologize, we don't have any copies made right now. But if you can briefly read over it and kind of see what our agenda is.
Yeah, but see, we already have an agenda. And we're
right, which I totally understand. And that's why Mr. Slezak and Mr. O'Connor said to come to the public open forum to speak with you guys today to present our information. as a possible opportunity as a local, entity to.
No,
make it more-
we appreciate you coming and giving. Basically, that's what you've done.
Right, and we wish we'd be on. We wish we had time to get on the agenda. If you'd like us to forward you the information on that, we'd be more than happy to. Present it to you guys. At least have some of that information, some of that background, just to think about. We're not asking anything more than that.
No, you're welcome to come back and get on the agenda for the next meeting.
How much
and do all
time
of
and
it.
effort do you think to get that field back in shape?
Which one, sir? Bob Summers.
Bob Summers.
I would say approximately probably a year. It's pretty rough.
So you think it's going to be out of gear for about a year?
I wouldn't say necessarily out of gear for a year. If the grass was cut in the outfield, you can probably go out and use the outfield. But as far as
Just
holding practices and
for
games,
practice.
yeah, the lips of where the grass is cut on the infield and the home plate area, and just I guess the situation of how making it a safe place for kids to want to go on there and reduce the liability risk. That's where we kind of, we feel comfortable with what Michaels Field has to offer as far as multi-purpose use. It's an open area, not just to house baseball, but more sports. And the biggest thing with youth right now is, a lot of kids are getting in trouble. Why? Because there's not the availability of them having other opportunities to do things after school, to do things in the evening times with, their parents and whatnot. And that's what our concept is. We're looking into more of a bigger venue, a bigger picture, not just strictly to one concept or one sport, and be able to allow it to be available with, of course, restrictions on schedules and everything else. And we've got all that pieced together and planned wise as far as what direction we want to go with that. And we'll be more than happy to allow you guys to take a look at our information. We'd love to pass it on. At least you guys have it or make it available. I know it was a last minute public open mic issue that we're on, and we didn't have that time to get on the agenda. And we do apologize because this was a short window that we were made aware of the situation from the last city council meeting, which we asked for a 2-week extension to move it to this coming Tuesday city council meeting at night to allow us to show what we're about and create an option as a lease option as a lease group that would love to take over Michaels Field and the potential of it to grow going forward.
I have a
Rob, where
question.
are we with the other group?
Right now, their lease agreement is going to go before council next Tuesday. It was postponed for 2 weeks.
It has been postponed,
Was
Oh, it's on the next meeting.
but it is on the
correct.
next meeting.
Next Tuesday's meeting, and both groups will be there.
And the city council is aware of our situation. We've reached out to them and provided them information, and they've said that after a meeting with Mr. Lezak and Mr. O'Connor, we're looking to have an agreement, lease agreement that's similar to what's situated, and let the city council, in the best interest of course, the city and the community, make a decision on it. And we're just looking for you guys to recommend us as far as another option, more of a broader community, local-based, more sports, more opportunities for the youths. And we'll pass that packet out and give you guys the information because, Jason and I have been here. He's been here longer than I have. I've been here for 11 years, and I'm telling you, there's hardly any patches of grass to find for my boys or anybody else's boys to go in there to go play a sport, to go kick a soccer ball around, to go throw a football around. Yeah, Riverside Park's fine, but it's just having a facility, a home base, Michaels Field, where it's a true multi-purpose. Hey, let's go to Michaels Field today. And have it recognized as that's where the park we're going to go situate ourselves.
All right, I think what's
I
going to
have a-
happen, you're going to come before city council.
Yes, that's correct.
So you might as well go ahead and work this out with them.
Okay, could we at least present our information to you guys and just at least
I would
have
like to see it. Can I say something? I like your guys' concept. My son plays lacrosse, so if you're going to have like an open field or something where
right,
all
and
kids can
that's the
play.
biggest thing. I'm sure.
And
you
it
don't
does
want,
have to be safe because even playing lacrosse, that
Right.
unsafe ground gets children hurt. And
right, and potholes.
so I totally understand and appreciate what you're saying.
Right, and
I
it's
would-
open to every sport, and if it's available, and there's the field's going to be situated where it's in that safe environment. We're taking care of all the maintenance. We have groups in place that are going to keep it in pristine condition, where it is a playable, facility and multi-purpose use field, not only limited to just baseball where Michaels is, but the area around it to grow it and make it more of a community-based, a center of more sports instead of just one specific area of it.
And you guys, Rob, they're allowed to go. They're going to go in front of city council, and they'll decide between the two. Is that the plan?
I think what's happening here is they're asking us for a recommendation without us having seen
We're-
their
we're-
presentation.
Right, it was a short window, ma'am. So I apologize. We weren't able to get on the agenda.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
do you mind if we do pass the information out?
I heard that.
Right.
Well, maybe you could get on our agenda next month.
Well, they're going to go before council before.
They go to
Yeah.
council
Council.
next Tuesday.
Just my immediate feelings is all these different leases going on of city land. I think that, we really need to take a step back and look at what we're doing here, because I feel like this is just starting to be a bad trend for the city. So before city council says anything or approves anything, I just feel like this whole thing of leasing city land, public land, needs to be looked at carefully.
All right, well, I think, thank you for your presentation, because I think actually you're going to move to council before we can do anything.
Right. We just want to provide the information to you guys because it was brought to our attention that we should
Okay.
present to you guys first.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to clarify one thing real quick. When you say like Riverside Park and in the field, I think when they're talking about, I have some experience with this. I built fields and, as a construction person from the ground up building complexes, if you had a lot of money, yeah, you could get Bob Summers fixed right away. But if you're going to do it, volunteer help and to turn the grass, get the lips out, as I said, make it safe. Like I said, I coached 13, 15-year-old team with the Indian River Sports Complex group over there. Tried to go over there to practice. You can't do it. You just can't do it. It's just too thick. You can't people running, falling, balls getting lost. Can't do it. Now, Riverside Park, it's a hard packed ground. If you're trying to play sports, you need field turf. You can't have little kids slide tackling on hard packed ground. You just
Well, it
can't.
depends on your concept, because you started off talking about sandlot ball,
Yeah,
which is very different
I got you.
from what you're trying to talk about.
Right, but
Highly improved. Also, Dodgertown is available for tournaments.
yeah, but again, we're talking about paying lots of money and really who's got
no,
the
you're
money.
not. I mean, there's.
I'm involved in.
They worked out a couple of tournaments already over there with the former Little League. They had people in there.
That was a while ago.
Yeah,
That was GT and his group. A while
yeah.
ago.
But I know it's still available.
Got it with the
They worked it out, and it was reported in the paper that it was nice that they did it, but
It's
it was also
available
paid
because
for.
I've talked to Craig, and I know it's available.
Right.
Okay, thank you. We got to move on here.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Any other citizen input? New business? I don't think we have any list. Old business, dog park.
Site plan.
Yeah, Mr. McGarry, where do you want to start? Don't want you to go to sleep now,
No, it's all right. I'm Tim McGarry, the Director of Planning and Development for the city. Last Thursday, the Planning and Zoning Board reviewed the proposed site plan for the dog exercise area near Bob Summers Park. Basically, the Dogs Exercise Group had entered into a lease agreement with the city back in March, which basically established the parameters for the use of the park as well as the premises for the dog park. There was no requirements in that lease to come back with any improvements in the property. So basically, our review, the review by the Planning and Zoning Board, really got down to making sure that they met the code, which was fairly easy other than parking, and I'll tell you about that. But they're proposing about 1,340 linear feet of fencing, which will be on the south side of the property all the way to the top of the bank. And along the east portion of the property, along East Indian River Drive, about 85 feet off the right-of-way. Yes.
We were talking, I think, at one time when they were coming through here about a 40-foot setback on that.
Well, yeah,
West
I'm
bank.
getting to, there's an easement along the river. There is, they go to the top of the bank as their leased premises, but there is no fence along there, but there is a 40-foot easement that the city retains there if they need to use that for a municipal purpose, such as a boardwalk or some other use.
Is that inside or outside the fence? I guess is my
There
question.
is no fence along the
west bank.
proposed along the lagoon.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
But there is a fence along the north. It's 50 feet south of the property line. It's south of the drainage. So they have a fence along there. So they've totally fenced it in, but their premises does extend all the way to the East Indian Drive. So there's 85 feet that's outside the fenced area over there that they have responsibility for. Within the fenced area, they've got two areas, one for small dogs, the other for large dogs. They've put in various gates to allow entry of persons and their pets, as well as we have larger gates for maintenance crews, and we have a removable fence on the eastern side to allow major equipment coming in, say if we need to have access for staging of storm debris. That has to be done if we unfortunately have a hurricane or something of that such. So basically the Planning and Zoning Board approved it, understanding that the City Council has the final say on this as the landlord on this property. So more in this case, it's more of an advisory kind of thing. The one thing that we did have a discussion had with the parking in the south. Our feeling was, or our feeling is, as staff, we believe that since they're putting improvements in, even though they've been de facto using that area for parking down that hard surfaced area, we felt that they needed to put a parking facility in of some sort. Our requirements in our code are 2 spaces per 1 acre of outdoor recreation, so we're requiring 10 spaces in there. We got in discussion of whether it should be durable surface or not. Obviously, there's going to be at least one handicap space. That has to be durable surface under code. The remainder right now has to be, we're calling for a durable surface, but we're giving them a year, knowing that they need to get additional funding to do that. They've been doing this for a long time without that kind of thing, but since we feel with these improvements and everything, there's going to be a lot of use there, and we need to put in some more permanent improvements in there for the parking. And it also would help remove some of the conflicts you may have with the boat trailers and the other activities going on the site.
Did landscaping come before you on this?
There is no landscaping requirements on this, and basically they are going to do some landscaping, but it's not part of the site plan. This is unlike other site plans we have where you have specific landscaping requirements. Excuse me, and there aren't really any landscaping requirements per se, except what they want to put in. And my understanding, they will put some in.
So you're really just adding the parking.
That's, as I said, there is not much. Yes, there isn't much code requirements here. It's really going to be up to, as I said, the landlord, which is the city council, what they like to see and not see on this property. I mean, we had a couple of issues that came up of we weren't going to. They initially had proposed parking on the east side, but we told them that one, they're going to have to do improvements to do that parking. You just can't drive onto the. They've dropped that part of it, so the only parking they're talking about now is in the south part. Now, whether that'll be okay at the city council, I don't know, but that's, they approved a lease agreement, not requiring any fence anyway, so it's one of the things. I mean, they're pretty well set. So that was the action of the Planning and Zoning Board, and they unanimously recommend moving forward with it.
I just have one question. I appreciate we're just advising, but initially we were talking about, with the 40-foot easement, there being a walkway along there for people who wanted to walk along the river. And I'm surprised because I've had this plan here for a long time, but it's got this little dotted line, and I really thought that was a fence. So I'm surprised to hear there's not a fence on the west side of the park.
Well, as I said, there was no requirement for a fence. And as I said, there was no requirement for a fence at all under this lease agreement. So
the only problem I see with that is keeping the dogs out of the water.
No, they're going to go in.
They're going to go in.
Right
if
now.
they go in the water, the lease agreement requires that the dog has to be on a leash outside the premises, and the lagoon is off the premises.
How are you going to control that?
It actually looks like they have cut some of the foliage out along the lagoon to allow the dogs to go in the water, which I'm not real happy about.
I don't think that's the case.
I think the dogs did that
I think the dogs
themselves.
did it. I don't think the humans did it.
And I think that somebody ought to let them know that that's not something the city is supporting.
Well, they have mangroves and everything along there. They're not going to be cutting
Absolutely.
anything in there. And as the requirements are there to maintain the lease, they're responsible for the property and all that. And certainly trying to have a group set up, and that's part of the responsibility they're taking on. And they're going to have to do some of the enforcement, as we explained to them. That isn't we're giving them the requirement to do the maintenance and all this other. We're not there to be policing it. That's the whole idea, to have this group taking responsibility for this. It's probably going to be rough, you can imagine, because until we get this going. But I agree, there's some issues there.
I have two little Westies, and the only time I took them there, they found that hole immediately, and they were both out in the middle of the river before I knew what happened. And they didn't care they were breaking a rule. I'm standing there screaming, "Come back!" You know? There's boats and.
Well, as I said, that this group is responsible for that. So unless the lease has changed the way it reads.
Okay.
Well, I think we have to be careful about leases. Again, I think we have to be careful because if you've walked down there, and I know you have, Tim, but this is almost a source of pride for some people there that the dogs go in the lagoon.
I know.
And this shouldn't be happening. So here's what you get when you start doing stuff like this. We are going to end up policing this area. And it's just something we have to be aware of.
So you need a motion out of us to...
Well, no, I think it's just review comments. If there's... Yeah, we don't need a motion. I mean, obviously, you have the authority if you want to make some comments to the city council because they're going to make the final decision. You certainly can do that. But right now, that's where we stand. So,
all right. Then, any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and here's the rest of the day. Dodgertown Golf Course has been moved to...
Most likely next month.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right. Right now, the draft lease is, right now with the attorneys, he's inundated with a lot of work, but he's trying to get that together. And once he gets that, we're going to send that over to Eric, who was the presenter from last month. Let him review it, and then once they're both good, then we'll be back in front of you guys.
All right, and then let's go to the budget discussion. And Rob, why don't you take the lead?
Yeah, we'll go back and just really quickly as a review. As we mentioned last month, we did provide 3 different budgets, and the reasoning for that was to look at. First of all, we were asked to put in a budget that was flat, and then we also went with 2 other budgets. One that would be kind of an intermediate one, and then one would be a, if we really could, we would love to do this. The one thing we do know is that, of course, as we all know, monies are really tight, and it's really a tough time. And the other thing I have to say to you guys that since we had our meeting last month, the numbers have come back from finance, which were numbers that we did not have. And it showed that even with a flat budget, we're $103,000 higher than we were a year ago. And that just is due to costs that are things such as anything from pensions to benefits to even some capital things that we had put on there as well. The other thing I wanted to say was that sat down with Cindy from finance, and she did a fantastic job and along with our staff, of putting together a 5-year capital plan. And this really ties around the 1-cent sales tax, and it also ties around the Whitaker Trust. And Cindy was able to really assist us in putting together a nice 5-year plan for the future to look out for our facilities, which is a really big issue. As you all know, and as the council also knew, our facilities are growing tired. So one of the things we've sat down and are going to propose to the city manager, who we're going to meet with tomorrow, is this 5-year capital of looking out for our facilities in the future. And we'll see how that breaks out.
All right. Let's just break this thing down, because you have 2 different parts, really. You got operating, and then you have the capital improvements.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, line 1 or page 1 here is backup information for line item changes to the budget. That's primarily operating. Anybody have any questions? Because what you're saying here, you're projecting a $100,000 increase, right?
Right, without even these numbers that you're seeing. It's another 100.
Well, it's a combination, so.
That's right. You
together
add
it'd be
another
200,000.
103 just
That would
to
be
this.
200,000, right?
Right. If you went with whichever one of these budgets, if you go with not with the flat one, but the addendum A and addendum B, the differences would be, in addition to that, would be 103 more.
Okay. I work with numbers all day, so I move through this stuff quick.
The other thing, just to let you know, let me mention that what those major issues were, those major items that we looked at just for our budget with the addendum A and addendum B. Those areas that we looked at were the following: expanding the hours over at Humiston Beach, building maintenance, just regular building maintenance work, a casual maintenance worker, that's a part-time casual maintenance worker who would be able to do some touch-up work and things like that. And we did put in just a little bit lower expectations for our revenue side. Those were the 4 avenues of the addendums. Everything else we pretty much kept the same.
All right, let's go to capital budget if there are no questions on the operating. Capital, you have addendum A and B and C here.
Right.
And we're talking primarily about either A or B, right?
Right. Let's go. I'm going to go in what we're proposing for. This is regular capital. This is not your 5-year capital stuff. This is your regular capital, because we've kind of broken these out a little bit further. I want to just throw the things that we have out there and where we're going. We've asked for a piece of equipment over at Leisure Square, an
So
exercise
we're talking about
equipment.
addendum A? I mean, where are you starting this? Random.
Let me grab, okay. I want to grab my addendum A and addendum B because I've got
Yeah, you can look at some of that.
2 different things here for you.
Are these different than what you gave us last month?
Yes and no, okay? Not really.
Well, this is what he gave us last month, what
I've just got to get the addendum, I've got to get my
I was gonna say,
addendum
'cause I don't have-
Hang
Got an
with
extra
me
copy.
here.
Rita? Okay.
Hang with me. I don't want to lose this one.
Well, last
All right,
year.
let me put in what we put in for the regular capital, and then I'm going to tell you what we put in for our.
Let's back up to
1
last
cent.
year, Rob, for a minute.
Yes.
On
Go ahead.
capital improvements last year, we basically ended up with 0, right?
We put in for a paddleboard. That's right, like $1,300. We put in for 1 paddleboard.
Okay.
And we also put in under 1 cent, we put in for tennis courts being resurfaced, a couple radios, a couple megahertz radios.
These were all filled
Yeah,
requests.
that's right.
Okay.
For this year's budget, what we're putting in for under regular capital is exercise equipment, a couple computers, copier, a couple megahertz radios, and aerial rigging. That's under regular recreation. Last year, we put in for 1 paddleboard. Okay, so that amount is roughly $27,500.
Page number on that, Dick.
It just says addendum A.
In the 5-year capital, here we go. All right.
What are you working off of? This worksheet? Or this? Addendum A?
Addendum A, pretty much addendum A, but I'm going to go through, I'm going to kind of, as we go along, hang with me here, okay? Because I've got an addendum A, and I also have a new 473, which is the 1 cent in the Whitaker, okay? And tell you what we placed and where we placed it.
You know, it might help next time, Rob, if we have this on PowerPoint.
We can throw it right on up on the thing right now. Can we do
That'd
that,
be
Rita?
great, 'cause
While
I'm
you're doing
blind
that,
here.
I'm going to get my addendum A and addendum B that I gave you guys.
I'll come get it.
Throw that on there.
We
And
can
that's
even-
my bad, guys. I'm
Well, you
sorry
can even
about
put
that.
addendum A and B on that, up on the overhead.
Yes, please throw that up on the thing.
We could put this on the overhead, right?
Yes, that's where I'd like it on the overhead. Yes, please. Here we
It should
go.
pop up here.
Got it. Okay. Now I see where we're at.
All right, she's
Sorry
turning
about
us
that,
on.
guys. All right. Here we go.
Look who shows up. You've been replaced, Angie. Make it.
Thank you.
Oops.
I think that's good. I think that's really good because that gives me 14 and 15, and that's where I want to talk about what we're proposing.
Wider to see the rest of it?
No, I think that looks great. Thank you, Holt. We can always move that if we need to. That's fantastic. What you got?
okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I have the addendum A and addendum B. I apologize for that. Let's run down addendum A, and then I'm going to explain that some of the stuff that you're going to see is
We
regular.
need to throw addendum A on here because not everybody has it.
Oh, they don't have addendum A and addendum B.
Correct.
I'm okay with him reading it unless if everybody else has it. I don't know.
Well, they don't. Some do, some don't.
None of us have it down here.
Okay. So we need to throw it overhead if we can do it. Did you want to do this first? What you have there?
What we have up there now?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay,
Because
do
that's
that,
really
and
going to be your addendum A and addendum B.
Okay.
All right. So let's just go through that. All right. When you look up there, you're going to see the 14-15 budget. Okay. And what you're going to see is I'm just going to tell you where those monies are. I've already mentioned what we're going to use for regular capitals, items for regular capital for next year. But those are the 5-year capital in the Whitaker Trust. And what we're doing with those is the $42,000 that you see for the tennis courts. That's tennis courts being resurfaced. That's one of the things that we also had under Addendum A. You'll see that in your list. All the way down, it's pretty far down, but it's there. Okay? We have that in there.
None of this is appropriated yet, right?
That's correct. This is what we're proposing. Correct. We do need to have our tennis courts resurfaced. The $100,000 is Royal Palm Point improvements. That is the one with the pumps and everything else that we have between 2 and 4 pumps working out of 7, and we're running right now on a rubber band.
This would bring all 7.
That's right.
Current.
This would get this thing.
Who paid for Royal Palm Point initially?
Your taxpayers, along with some grant money, and I think also your private citizens helped pitch into. It was a major project in the 2001-2002 time period. Your $5,000 is your storage shed for J.C. Beach Park.
Is this for the lifeguards?
That is correct. That is for the lifeguards. Your $23,000, to let you know, is for center stage. That's an emergency egress off of the upstairs at center stage. That's $15,000, and it's $8,000 for the air conditioning units. Your $9,000 is a piece of equipment for Riverside Park, and that's a slide.
That's 15, 16, though. No, okay, I'm wrong. I see. You get different 9,000s.
Right. You'll notice that it said 10,000, it's 9,000. We got that price down. Your $50,000 is for a roof replacement on the main building of Leisure Square. If you're familiar with that, you definitely know it definitely needs to be taken care of. Your 40,000, which is a new one, is going to be in a lease agreement for vehicles within the city, and this is a cost savings measure through the Public Works and Engineering Department, which should help save the city, what do we think, hundreds of thousands of dollars with the overall through the year? For a 5-year period. Should be a savings to the city.
But this is an addition to what you, this is a new addition.
That's correct. That is a new addition. And
So the total is 277.
that's correct, 277.8. Now rolling through, and you want me to put up addendum A? Now let's go 15, 16. Let's just move over, just to let you know. Rolling over to 15, 16, you'll see that, let's see, Leisure Square is $110,000. That's $110,000 because we got a report from the health department that we need to resurface our pool by May of 2016. That just came across. Your next number is 8,000?
88.
88, that's part of the vehicle lease again, right?
Is that an annual cost?
Right. Your community center improvements, to let you know, the next one below it at 59 is for an awning, and for the sides and the painting, the siding, the things like that, the spalding, all that stuff needs to be addressed.
Bethel Creek.
And Bethel Creek is also an awning. The awning in the back needs to be replaced.
The previous one was community center.
And the previous one was community center, and you'll know that
Bethel
those
Creek is not till 16, 17, right?
No, it's 15, 16.
15, 16.
Yeah, it's right here.
Is it 9,000?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, and here's my question,
Yes. Fire away.
which I've thrown at you before.
Go ahead.
Community center, you're going to throw in 50,000 for new roof next year. Then,
Leisure Square.
yeah, no, not Leisure Square, community center.
Community center is in 16, 17.
Who's going to get
15,
the?
16. Yes.
All right, who's getting the roof next year?
Leisure Square.
Leisure Square is next year.
Oh,
And 59 is for siding. The roof does not need to be repaired at community center. It's your siding.
Okay. And my question to you, which I know you've talked to, or in the process of talking to Public Works,
Yes.
to see what the life of these buildings are, right?
Right. The Public Works and Engineering Department let us know this morning that they're going to look into. They thought that there was a structural engineer had done a study a while ago on Leisure Square, and they were looking for that history. And in addition, they also said that they would get back in touch with us regarding what the cost might be, and they may go out and look at those buildings themselves.
All right, well, this is my general question. From a budget standpoint, if they have to go out and retain a structural engineer to give us a life expectancy on these buildings, how would that be funded?
Be funded through your budget. And what we do is we have a structural engineer on contract that we use periodically throughout the various departments of the city. But those cities are charged for those costs that are incurred.
So it would come through the recreation budget as a cost?
That is correct. It'd be a charge to the recreation department.
Okay, but if it's not in our, do we have, I guess, extemporaneous money set aside to cover something like this?
Yeah, we are not going to do a total go in and do an analysis of the walls and the ceiling and all that. We would just have them do a cursory review if they see a crack or something that would indicate there'd be an issue. So it's not going to be that much money initially. But if there's something spotted from the review, for example, the crack in the foundation, then it becomes a little more different. And I think that's more than an engineering review. I think that becomes engineering review and repair. And then that also would come to the recreation budget, when we would not have that in there this year.
All right, so really to get that, if it were to go to a structural survey, would be in next year's budget?
That is correct.
If required?
That is correct. We probably will do a structural review, just a cursory review, because it's very little money to do that. And I think Rob and Monty talked about that this morning.
Yeah, well, these buildings are aging. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So.
Yeah, all of our buildings are aging. It's been a long time since we built a building.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say that.
Not me.
No. Fountain of Youth is
not the volunteers. You guys, no, you're not aging.
Yeah, but the Fountain of Youth is not that far away.
I am now.
But that's how we would do it. We have seen nothing that would indicate, based on the conversations we've had, that would show a real structural issue with any of the buildings.
Well, you're getting into heavy repair costs and obviously extending certain parts of the life of the buildings.
Right. But obviously, roof is something that you've got to do if you're going to use the building, so you got to get that repaired. The siding is not a major issue. I mean, it's something that has to be done. Aesthetics, as well as, you don't want to have rotting through the walls
Same
themselves.
with the pool surfacing, but not affect your programs?
Well, that's a health. That's
Yeah,
not
health
only
issue.
you've got to have it done, because that's a health department issue. They are the
my
ones that
kid in a
actually
pool.
gave us that report. So that was a new one that came through.
Yeah, and they wouldn't allow us to open the pool.
Correct.
I hope you do that when the pool is shut down for a month.
Well, and now that would definitely be our goal and idea of having it done in December.
Yeah, we try to forego the peak.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to.
Don't lose more money.
Yeah, we won't do it in the summer.
Well, recognizing the city's strapped for money now, but long term, to replace these buildings, which I think we've talked about, the lead time is 5 to 10 years. That to start figuring out how to fund it, as well as what you may want to, change the buildings, et cetera.
Our capital plan is 5 years in length, but we are now requiring, unlike previous capital plans, you've got to show where the funding sources are going to come from. So if you throw something like that in there, you need to come up with, i.e., it's going to be sales tax or somewhere, but it's got to, or you get a grant or whatever.
Well, that's why I'm saying we need to recognize the life of the buildings. We can start somewhere, and it's going to be somebody else that figures out the funding and everything. I don't think any of us are going to be here 10 years.
But before it goes into the plan, it has to have a funding source.
No,
because we used to have 5-year plans that had all these projects in it, but nobody ever got any projects done because no one had any money.
Yeah, but logically, see, you're not going to start even, if we don't start thinking about replacing these buildings now, 10 years out, whatever, to start developing a plan, I think is where I'm going with it. Just very general concept right now.
Right.
And I understand your, I would say, almost predicament of where the funding source is going to come from in doing this. So,
right.
No easy task. Thank you. You want to go to A, Rob?
Sure. Yeah, addendum A. If we run down the list, and you're talking about the capital, the paddle boards have already been taken care of. We're running down addendum A. The paddle boards have already been done. That was a total of $1,300. That's already been handled. We were able to get a great deal on paddle boards. The radios are in the regular capital that we put in. The storage shed is in for next year's budget. The copy machine is less than what we thought. It's $4,000. We have that in for a regular budget. The rental stage cover $6,000 we're putting in next year's budget. The air conditioning units at Center Stage, we are going to put those in this year's budget. The pieces of equipment at Leisure, we're going with $5,000 this year and $5,000 next year.
Did you throw this on the overhead?
Sure. It's going to be a little marked up, but is there a way to?
Another way.
How do you get that from?
There you go.
Yeah, just do it that way and move it down.
Just do it that way. I'll just do that. All right.
Move it over a little bit. A little further.
There you go.
All right. Just going through real quick. The paddle boards we're taking care of. We've already got those handled. We got a great deal on those. The replacement radios we did put in for regular capital. Those are something that the lifeguards had recommended. The storage shed would be for that lifeguard gear that you're talking about. The copy machine is $4,000, not $5,000, just to let you know. The rental stage cover we're putting in for next year, the following year, not next year's budget, but the following year. The air conditioning units are necessary at Center Stage and will need to be replaced this budget year coming up. We went with one piece of equipment for Leisure.
Yeah, but you have 10,000.
Yes, we had 10, and we're going 5 this year and 5 next.
Okay.
The playground at Riverside needs a slide that's 9,000, not 10,000, and we have that in our budget. The aerial rigging apparatus we put in our regular budget. We need to replace that piece. It's more than 30 years old. The computers, we get information back from the information systems, and you'll see that most of our computers are from the 2004 to 2006 era, and it's time for replacing. We're replacing them 2 at a time, and we put in for 2 on our regular budget for next year, and we'll continue. And of course, if we have them break, then we replace them. The one thing that we found out from information systems today alone was that they're having a difficult time starting to adjust to the older machines with the new technology. Mm-hmm. The awnings at the community center and Bethel Creek House are waiting for one more. We're going to give them 1 more year. If you look at them, you'll see that they're a little frayed and tattered, and definitely got some holes in them. But we're going to give it 1 more year. We're going to hold out 1 more year for that. The fence replacement around the tennis courts is waiting till around 17-18. I went out there and looked at that fencing. This was a recommendation. It's not needing to be done right away. The emergency egress was something that we did put in this year's budget for upstairs at Center Stage, and the flood control siding we're putting in for 2 years from now. The tennis courts, we already have that. I already had that in. The roof replacement and the Royal Palm Point fountain we have in this budget.
Okay, with your deletions, awnings, fence replacements, and then the addition of the 40,000, the total is the 277 you gave?
That's right.
Okay.
277.8 for the 1 cent and another 27.6 for your regular capital.
We had talked back in the Christmas time frame about putting a timer on the lights at on the fountain at Royal Palm Point. Did that happen?
No, we haven't done that. Putting lights on the fountain.
No, putting a timer on the fountain.
Oh, putting a timer on the fountain.
On the lights or on the fountain?
No, on the fountain.
I don't think you really can do that, and here's why. Because you have to inspect that. You have to have the thing inspected every day. You have to go out and do a chemical check and everything else. So you have to have someone physically go out there and turn it on and make sure they have all the right measurements and make sure that nothing's wrong, make sure that nothing's registering a chemical issue, anything like that.
Okay.
So we do have to have someone go out. And that's why you have to have a certified pool operator.
I think the issue was the going off, not the coming on. I think, at Christmas time we were out there taking pictures.
Right.
And We were thinking,
It's set to it is set to a timer. It is set to a timer. It should go off, but we also know. I know what you're talking about now. What wound up happening is it did wind up going off like, I don't know, 15 minutes or 20 minutes after you did, and we went out there and readjusted the timer. What will happen is occasionally either one, we just don't set the timer exactly at the right time, give people maybe an extra few minutes to play out in the fountain, or if you've had something happen mechanically, whether there's a thunderstorm or something that has possibly held it out, it could change it a little bit, the variables.
All right. What's the difference of B?
Okay, the B, to let you know, B, couple different things. The B was...
Wait a minute, throw it on the overhead.
You're talking about on the Capitol, right?
Yeah, throw it on the overhead.
Let me throw that up there.
It's easier.
Okay, as going through that, and I'm going to grab A just to tell you the differences.
I see it now.
Before you do that, Rob, can you
Yes.
tell us which A or B, which one of these that you and Jim support?
All right, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm coming in with the capital program, I will be recommending the addendum A.
Okay, and
To
Jim
let you
too?
know. Jim, that'll be up to Jim. Jim's got to be the one that comes in there and comes out with that ink pen and says, I'm not so sure about this. You got to sell this on me. And I'll let him.
Oh, he's going to get up, huh?
Lynn, the bottom line is we're about $300,000 off in general fund, and so I've got to make up that. We got a quick 10% of that from the police department, but we've got to get a little bit more from them. And Rob, I think, is already talking about at least $1,500.
Yeah, I got 13.
1,300, close. So we're chipping away at it, but overall, I've got to find about $300,000.
And I'll let you know with that $300,000 that we're talking about, that is your regular capital and your line items, okay? That's not the 1 cent in the Whitaker, okay? Just as an FYI, okay? Okay.
No, Rob, since we're speaking of budget, just also, we are going to be presenting this with the Recreation Department as part of general fund. And there has been some concern about the Finance Department or the Finance Commission doing that, but there's just no way that we can, through adequate accountability and going through the auditing GFOA's process, justify the Recreation Department as being enterprise fund. I mean, you're just not even close. And this obviously even puts you even farther behind in the process. So.
Okay, going through the B, to let you know, the paddleboard is already gone. We've already taken care of that. The difference between A and B, to let you know, is we don't have a copy machine in on this one, on addendum B. If we go with a copy machine, we can always lease. But what we found is in the long run, if we lease, it's no different than a car. You're going to pay more money. So the idea is, do we pay a little bit more with your capital up front and save some money in the long run, or do you lease? So you can go either way, but we will need we definitely will need a copy machine. In addition to that, we did not put in the emergency egress. We held it out for a year, which I don't think that's such a great idea. I think it's time for us to have
I'm not
that.
even sure what that means.
What it means is it's an opportunity for someone to get out of the upstairs area at center stage. And it's one where you only have one way to go down, and if something happens, you may be caught up there.
Is this the code says we have to do this?
Well, it's been looked at, but it's something that I think is highly recommended.
But it's not required.
That's a hard question to answer for
Probably
sure.
on the line.
I have a feeling it probably is supposed to happen.
But right now, it's not required.
Right now, it's not
right.
happening. That's a good conversation, but I'm thinking that we probably need to make sure this happens. We need a way for someone to get out another way if they're caught upstairs.
What's upstairs?
Upstairs in center
The
stage,
rigging?
it's
Isn't
an
it
office area.
Oh.
So am I reading this that addendum B is basically the minimum that you're requesting versus A?
Yes. I'll be honest with you. Addendum B with our budget, with our capital items, is much different than Addendum A, as you can see on the list. It's really very minimal difference.
All right, so if we pull the awnings, the community center, and the emergency egress, what's the total?
36.9. Tell you in a minute. $243.9.
So you're going to save roughly 30,000.
Right. It's not much difference.
I don't know. City manager might have a different idea.
Well, I think my thing is
That's 10%. 10% of his 300.
As a preface, the one thing I wanted to say is that we're all well aware between the Recreation Commission, ourselves, and all the different departments. There's a number of different departments, and we understand that each one of them has their budgetary challenges. And the other thing is that for functioning and everything else, we have to look at everything and try to align with what is being asked of all of us. And, we know this is a challenge, and it always is. As Jim mentioned already, we're $300,000 over a flat budget, correct? And just in the general fund for your line items and your regular capital. So, with the 5-year capital, I think we have a really good handle on the 5-year capital. I think that with Cindy's knowledge and the 1 cent sales tax and the Whitaker Trust and things like that, I think she's really been able to work with all the different departments to work out a way to make that work. The challenge, I think, for us for next year's budget, and I can't speak for Jim because he'll be able to say, no, you can't do that, will be, I think, the general fund line item budget and the other capital.
I guess we might have to raise taxes.
I'll let you say that.
I just did.
The council's going to raise taxes.
I think they should.
Any more comments on the budget, either operating or capital?
How many open positions do you have in recreation right now? I saw 3 lifeguards are listed on your on the website.
Right. You can add another one. I think we just had a permanent part-timer who's going to be stepping down. We were able to fill, I think, 2 of those lifeguard positions, and we have now another one about to go up on the board. Other than that, there's really not a lot. I think there is 1 part-time casual position for a gymnastics instructor. Other than that, I think that's it.
Okay. And are there salary increases for personnel next year?
I'll let Jim speak on that one.
We had a salary increase from last year that carries over into the next fiscal year, but we are still negotiating with the Teamsters.
What was the percentage last year?
3%.
So it's 3% for next year too, or 3% divided?
No, it's 3% last year, and obviously that cost carries forward.
So basically you get 1.5 a year.
Actually, you got 3% last year, which carries forward, because if you had 1.5 a year, you
Yeah, it's greater than 3.
yeah. But we are negotiating in good faith with the Teamsters Union, and part of their request is obviously salaries.
Do you give salary increase every year?
No, ma'am. We haven't given salary increase. For example, department directors, this will be their 5th year.
Yeah,
right?
I think 5th or 6th.
5th or 6th year. As a matter of fact, we decreased their salaries for about 2 years, maybe 3 of those
Couple
6.
furloughs.
Yeah, through the furloughs and also through the reduction of
That's
the
right.
4%. So there's actually been a loss over that period of time, not an increase. The general employees received their pay increase last year for the first time in 4 years, and then the police got theirs last year for the first time in 4 years. So there is nothing across the board on an annual basis, and hasn't been. And we have also, there is no step increase as well, so employees have not received the step increases.
How you doing on pension funds?
We are realigning the pension and paying early, which saves us a couple of dollars, but our actual pension costs went up about $300,000 this year. We are programming in that we will be on a defined contribution plan, because we are negotiating again in good faith with the Teamsters. But we hope we'll be able to resolve that. They gave a TO'd it last year, signed off on it last year. They obviously took a vote and voted it down, but from their leadership, they did TO it, so we have that back on our negotiating position. And hopefully that'll take effect October the 1st. And in that, we have a mix where the city will contribute, the employee will contribute, and get very close to what the actuary says will give them the full benefit of what they're presently having in the defined benefit plan, if they use the money right.
That's a big if. All right, any more budget questions? Seeing as how there are nobody. Recreation Directors Matters.
Now we are priming up for the 4th of July. We're
we
trying to
are.
get all that worked out, but logistically, the event looks like it's going to start around 3 o'clock and end at 10.
You want to describe it?
A lot of fireworks, and that's not even the pyrotechnic stuff. No, I'm just kidding. What we have is we're going to have food vendors. It looks like we have the Buggy Bunch with the Food Truck Frenzy as our food vendors. We've got the
Is this at Riverside?
Yes, at Riverside Park. Treasure and Space Coast Radio is going to do their do that thing they do every year. They're going to do the countdown, and they'll also have their folks out there having games, playing, doing a bunch of things. We'll have bounce houses. We will have the Choo Choo Guy. We will have what else we got out there? I'm trying to
Well,
think.
we're going to have the live music this year.
We're looking at live music, and we're still trying to make sure we get them in line.
Right. We're this
firming up.
close.
We're coming close.
We've got Crooked Creek and Kristen O'Connor coming, hopefully, so I think that
Two
will
acts.
Is Mulligan sponsoring this?
Yes.
I mean, the way you guys were.
Yes, Mulligan is definitely the big time sponsor. They're the big cheese.
What does it end up costing the city?
The goal this year was basically the cost for the city. We're hoping is around $2,500, and that's basically a match with the county, and that would include all the activities.
Right.
How much is the fireworks?
Fireworks are $15,000, and Mulligan sponsors $10,000. The county sponsors $2,500, and we're hoping the city is the other $2,500 with the match. And then we have what we think is about $3,000 or $4,000 in cost for like police and public works and engineering. And we were hoping that the food truck group would be able to offset that along with the few vendors to offset that.
I was going to ask you, when you
cost.
let a nonprofit come in, like the Buggy Bunch, and do the food trucks, so we're losing that income?
actually
we're going to
gaining a
actually wind
lot.
up generating. We're hoping around
gonna give us a percentage?
$3,200 to
They're
offset
giving us
that cost.
$3,200.
They're giving us $3,200
Yes.
Just
for
flat.
To offset the cost for the police. So
Yeah.
basically what it comes down to is the actual costs we're hoping is going to be $2,500. And we also think that those musicians are also going to be sponsored. So the idea is to try and have it be that the costs to the city are $2,500 for a great night of fireworks, etc.
We'd like it to make money. I think
Yeah.
we're close. This
We're-
year we'll make
yeah.
it. A little more than a couple of thousand. I'd like
Right.
to make a little bit more.
But it's our goal to keep it under $2,500 cost to the city.
Good. Thank George. Well, thank you,
I
Angie.
do
don't
every
know.
day. Yes.
And that's the major one for this next month. And budget is July. I think we're up on July the
7th or 10th or something.
I know this. I know this. I'll get back with you on that one. I'll let you go ahead and put anything else, and then I'll get you that date.
Chairman's Matters, I don't have anything. I think we've covered a lot today. I appreciate everybody's cooperation in this. Members Matters, let's start down with Judy.
If they moved it up, I
The
have July
breakfast I
21st.
sponsor in memory.
Is that too late?
The breakfast I sponsor in memory of my brother will be held again. I'm sponsoring it, but I won't let you know until after July 4th. It depends on my summer school schedule.
When do you anticipate roughly?
Late July.
Usually late
Like
July,
last
early
year.
August
Yeah,
is
just
what we
before.
do.
It's for the junior staff, the council, and us.
Good.
And the budget meeting, just to let you know, is July 10th will be when we think we're going to go before council.
Are you first or
No,
July.
we're after the marina.
so you're
That's a Thursday. It starts at 9 a.m.
Okay, Sue?
The only thing I have, last year we had an event at Spring Hill Suites that benefited the summer camp program, and to get in line with the rest of Marriott, they want to bring that to the school system instead of to the recreation department this year. So there's a lot of programs for little kids, and there's college scholarships for the big kids. So it's going to be to benefit the middle schools in the area instead of recreation department. That's all I have.
Greg?
I'm in gear with Rob. I just had a letter date. I had the 21st. Rob said it'll be before the 21st of July.
Right.
What are you referring to?
He's talking about the meeting with the budget.
Oh, okay, with council.
Right.
Right. You have anything else?
No?
Bobby?
So far we're in gear. A lot of my figures that I have are about in the ballpark.
Angie?
Just hope to see everybody at the 4th of July.
Lynn?
I have a couple things. Rob, could you replace the picnic tables at Leisure Square, please, that were in the shade? I don't know what happened to them, but there's nowhere for parents to sit in the shade over there.
Okay. They've gone away.
They've gone away.
Okay.
First, we had chairs out there; those disappeared. Then we had picnic tables; those have disappeared.
Okay.
So I don't know where all those things are going. But
Hopefully they're being repaired.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully. I'll find out.
Okay. The only other thing I want to mention is the city's going to be having a aquatic Special Olympics team this year for the first time in a long time. And some of our city's top athletes are volunteering coaching at Leisure Square. And it's really been, we had our first practice last week, and it's, if you get a chance to come out and watch, or if you want to volunteer, let me know, because it's really been quite a fantastic process, and we're always looking for volunteers.
All right, anybody, anything else? Last thoughts? Seeing as how nothing more. The next meeting is July 8th. And I guess we consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you.